I thought I'd have 3 new features to show you this week. Instead I have 1.5, and a whole lot of lessons learned. Welcome to the real world of game development. Welcome back, guys. If you're new here, my name is Vadim. I'm an experienced software developer diving into game dev, and this is the second episode of the PixelPulse Devlog series. Today, we're looking at the progress I've made, the challenges I've faced, and the lessons I learned along the way. Let's break down what I've accomplished and where I failed. First, let's talk about what I did manage to achieve. I've successfully implemented the arena borders, so now our player cannot go off to the void. This might seem simple, but it actually took about an hour to figure out how to do it properly in Godot. I ended up creating 4 walls around the playing arena. It's a basic solution, but it works for now. Next, I've refined the controls, restricting movement to 4 directions. This was actually more challenging than I expected, but I'll get into that in a moment. Lastly, I've started work on the color trail that follows the player, a key feature for our Tron-like gameplay. It's not perfect yet, but you can see here how the trail follows the player's movement, adding this classic light cycle effect I'm aiming for. Now, onto the challenges. The biggest lesson I learned this week is about estimating time for tasks. I seriously underestimated how long some of these simple tasks would take. For example, implementing the 4-direction movement took much longer than I expected. But here's where it got interesting. I decided to calculate the movement angles manually, without relying on any AI tools or even formulas. It was time-consuming, but incredibly rewarding. On Tuesday, I was forced to work on my laptop instead of my usual setup. Surprisingly, this constraint led to one of my most productive sessions. I spent about 40 minutes drawing out the problem, thinking it through, and implementing the solution. This experience reminded me of the joy of problem solving that drew me to programming in the first place. It's not just about getting the right answer, but about the journey and realizing that your brain isn't as rushed as you might think. Even though it was a small task, I haven't felt so good while coding for a long time. Let me know in the comments if you had similar experience. I actually sketched out the problem on my iPad, dividing the joystick area into 4 zones, like a letter X. Then I worked out the math to calculate the angle and determine the direction. When I implemented it and saw it working, it was one of the best feelings I've had while coding in a long time. This experience taught me the value of really understanding the core mechanics of what I'm building, rather than always relying on ready-made solutions or AI assistants. Of course, not everything went smoothly. After the best day of solving the movement problem, on Wednesday I ran into some problems. I struggled with Godot collision system when trying to add an enemy bot. It's a lot of new concepts to learn, and I made some pretty basic mistakes, because I'm still getting used to how Godot works. Thursday and Friday were even worse. I realized just how much I still have to learn about game development. I spent a few hours each day, but I can hardly call it progress. I just added the color trail behind the player when it moves, and even that isn't fully implemented yet. But that's the part of the learning process, right? It's important to be transparent about these challenges because they're a natural part of the game development, especially when you're just starting out. Now that I've covered what went well and what didn't, let's dive into the plan for next week. I'm adjusting my goals to be more realistic. For the coming week, I'm focusing on the 3 main tasks. Finish the color trails to make them look proper, add kill zones for player trail and wall collisions, and if I will have some more time, start implementing basic AI for the enemy. I'm being more conservative with my estimates this time, but I'm looking forward to go to the next phase and create some actual gameplay. If you enjoyed seeing the challenges and the progress in this devlog, you'll definitely want to check out how this whole journey started. In the first episode, I break down the initial concept of PixelPulse and show the very first steps in bringing this game to life. You can find the video right here. Trust me, it's the perfect place to start if you want to follow this game dev story from the very beginning.